Here's the Ricoh GR III. It is my favorite camera of all time. Here's my guide to how to use it properly and most efficiently. Number 1, get rid of the front ring and the hot shoe cover. It just makes the camera smaller, easier to grip, easier to hold when you're walking around. Number 2, I recommend using the strap, the wrist strap that it comes with. I like to attach it to the top, right next to the mode dial. And the way I use it is I put my wrist through it, and then I turn it once around my ring finger, and then I hold the camera. I can either hold the camera while walking around like this, and it's secure, or I can shoot. Also allows me to use my index and middle finger to hold both sides of the lens in case you want to shoot like this, but also horizontally. All right, now let's talk function button. This guy, the main function button, I think is best served for focus setting, swapping between autofocus and snap focus. Autofocus, snap focus. Autofocus, snap focus. Snap focus is really cool because that tiny bit of time that you have before you can capture the shot, it takes a little bit of time for the camera to focus. When you're in snap, you don't have that. You just take the shot. Very simple. This camera also has full press snap, which means if you're in autofocus mode and you just press all the way through, it just does the snap focus, which in my case is 2.5 meters. And still though, a fraction of a second slower than if you were to be in snap focus. So it's nice to have it accessible right there with the function button. Another customizable button is this side button here. Movie mode or Wi-Fi, you don't need either of those to be part of this button. What do we use it for? We use it for crop. Look, 35, 50, back to 28. These crops on this camera are actually very useful. What about holding it? Rather than Wi-Fi, takes off my HDF filter, puts back on my HDF filter. HDF off, HDF on. That's it. Very simple. Next, adjust settings. This button, the adjust button, brings up an extra menu. It's better to keep that uncluttered. As you can see, I only have 3 things up here. I have focus, so I can change, to manual focus or different area and pinpoint and stuff if I want to, or tracking. Let's keep it on snap focus in this case. And you see, I can go back to autofocus by the use of that button. You should know how to set these up, by the way. I can show it to you in just a second. But back to the adjust menu, only focus, image control, and outdoor view settings. That's all you need here. Okay, there is that. Now, how to set those things is real easy. If you don't know it, I'll just cover it real quick. You hit menu, you go to C for custom, and then you scroll down to function button setting. The function button you put to set snap or set to manual focus is another useful one. We'll talk about that in just a second. And you scroll down to the movie button and the hold version of it, and you set the top to crop and the bottom one to HDF. That's it. If you don't have the HDF version, probably ND would be a good one. It's just cool to have this as the lens button. It's next to the lens, so when I'm here, I just, because I'm going about my 28, but hey, you want to swap lens? Boom, put on 35, put on a 50, nice and easy. All right, so we're going to talk about 3 different custom settings. The first one I want to talk about is the grainy film look. This camera, as you probably know, is capable of creating images that look like they were shot on a film camera, like an instant film camera or a nicer film camera, 35mm film camera. How do we get those images? Let's look at it. So the magic number I have for you is 12,800. That's your ISO that you have to set. So if you go to your menu and you go to the first page basically and go to ISO, there you go, 12,800. There's no minimum, no maximum, it's just 12,800. And I tell you, once we cover the colors and everything, the 12,800 is what gets you that grain. Let's take a look at this picture. Boom. Yep, looks like it was shot on an old 35mm film camera. 12,800 ISO is the secret sauce or whatever part of the recipe. I do, as you can see, have EV minus 0.7. That's a common thing a lot of folks like to do with the Ricoh GR. It just kind of adds this kind of an old school vibe to the image, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Another thing that the high ISO forces the camera to do, which adds to the overall vibe of the image, is closing down the aperture. This is a f5.6. If I were to shoot this in normal ISO, it would go to f2.8 and have more of a shallow depth of field effect, whereas with this, with higher depth of field, it feels like it was shot on an instant camera. So that's pretty much what does it. But besides that, let's talk film simulation real quick, because I like positive. I like to keep things simple. I like either color or black and white, right? You like your Velvia and your whatever your black and white is. I liked my Ilford black and whites. So for my color film, I like to use positive film, and let's quickly go over the custom settings over there. Saturation is at +4, Q is at 0, low high key adjustment +4, contrast +4, highlight contrast +4, shadow contrast +4, sharpness +4, shading 0. Why? Because shading just adds a fake vignette. More on that later, by the way. Clarity +4. These are the sharpness and clarity are added on top because once you mix that with the high contrast, high color, the HDF filter being on, and the high key color adjustment that enhances the highlights anyway, you get this unique look. So there's your film look. There's your film color look. Real quick, you can do the same thing on black and white. So, and I have this all saved in my U1. So when I go to U1, it just says film look, right? And it's this basically the ISO setting and the positive film is pretty much what it is. And if I want to switch to a black and white film look, I just press the adjust button and go up to black and white. I like using regular black and white. And you'll see, once I show you the image, it is grainy film look black and white photo. It looks like it was shot on an old black and white camera, probably a, I don't know, maybe a, I liked the high contrast Ilford films. I don't know which one this would be like, but you be the judge. I like to keep things simple, so I have a black and white film and a color film, both of them under the same setting. And then let's move on. I have two other custom settings here. If I go to U2, you'll see that it's a dedicated monochrome setting, and I've named it M Monochrome. If you know anything about Leica M cameras, the M Monochrome creates these really soft, not soft necessarily, but like really just gorgeous, sharp images. So for this, I have turned off the HDF. The button assignment is the same, but it's not active to begin with. I can activate it if I want to, but by default, it's off. And it's regular black and white, except if I go back to the top and go back to our ISO setting, it's on auto ISO with a much lower limit. So we start at the base ISO at 100 with an upper limit of 4000. In my experience with the GR3, 4000 is as high as I want to go if I want to keep things looking smooth. Now, even though I have sharpness and everything, let me just show you the image. Boom. This is my Leica M monochrome look. There's barely any grain, because it keeps the ISO nice and low. Super sharp lens. This is the 28, but actually looks really cool in a 50 crop. We have the same custom button assignments. And look what happens. Let's take a picture here with our 50 Leica, if you will. Look at that. It's totally a vibe. It's totally a vibe. All right, so that's that. The only difference is the lower ISO setting, and we took the HDF off. Last but not least is my U3, which I like to call Leica Q. What's the difference here? It's low ISO, that's it. And the same film simulation settings that I talked about, positive film, +4, I have a -2 on the hue here, +4 again on the low high key adjustment, +4 contrast of all kind, +4 on sharpness, because Leica lenses are super sharp, and +4 on the clarity. Now, your opinions might differ, but this is what I like to call my Leica Q look. And if you just look at how clean and smooth and sharp that is, still very rich colors, but I'm able to get images of this level of clarity that you would get on something like a Leica Q on my Ricoh GR. And the difference between this and, of course, the grainy film look or the grainy black and white look is completely visible, as you can see. Okay, so that's it. We have 3 presets. The first one for my film look. Second one for clean black and white, M monochrome. Third one, clean color, Leica Q. Before I leave you, just a few other pointers in the settings. I like to turn off anything that consumes extra power. So this light here, I like to turn it off. On the end screen, I get rid of the thing that says how many shots forever. Who cares? I don't need that. Or the version number and stuff like that. These you find in the menu down here. Is sort of like at the very bottom. Important thing is to turn off this little peripheral correction situation. Boom. Peripheral illumination correction. This is hoping to undo the natural vignette that the lens, that this 28mm lens creates, but it does so poorly, to be honest with you. So I always turn that off, and I recommend you turn it off as well. Always shoot JPEG. Let's forget about RAW. All the processing, all the gorgeousness, the texture is coming from the JPEG-ness of the GR-ness of it all. So don't mess with that. And we have also this thing in the playback settings. If you scroll all the way down, turn off auto image rotation so that when you're reviewing your images, they're just where they are. It doesn't mess with you moving around. It's your film roll. You go through your film roll. You know which way you took the photo. So there's that. And one last thing, I promise, is about the metering, you guys. The metering works better if you put it on center weighted as opposed to multi-segment. That's just my experience. Very simple. And similarly, when it comes to white balance, I like it better on auto white balance as opposed to multi-auto. Just a thing I found over time. I've used both, but I tend to like the images better on regular auto white balance. And of course, turn off all noise reduction, as well as AA filter simulator, as well as and this auto horizon correction. You want this to be a real camera. All right, my friends, I hope this has been helpful. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. And please use the links in the description below to shop on Amazon. Those are affiliate links where you can find accessories for this camera, or things I use to shoot videos on this channel. And if you shop through those links, I get a little kickback. It helps me out. It helps me make more of these great videos for you if you think they're great. Thanks for tuning in. Enjoy your GRs. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you have other tips. Would love to hear from you. All right, take care.